Hi everyone, this is Ann, your nutritional health coach here at Modern Holistic Health. And today I want to talk to you about a very popular diet out there right now, and that's the keto diet. The keto diet's actually nothing new. It's been around since the 1920s, but it's made a comeback in the last few years, and you have a lot of people talking about the benefits of a keto diet and doing a keto diet simply for weight loss. So you've probably seen it in the headlines, you see people talking about it, you probably even know someone who's doing the keto diet or who's tried the keto diet, or you may be thinking of trying it yourself. So today I want to talk to you about some of the right and wrong ways to do the keto diet, because there are some key mistakes that you can make when you're trying to do the keto diet. So I want to go through that with you today and set you up for really everything you need to know if you plan to start this diet. So like I said, the keto diet's been around since the 1920s. It was first used in a medical setting, actually, to help children with epilepsy, to help them deal with and handle seizures in that condition. And so, again, it's nothing new. It's been used for decades for different medical conditions. And the science has shown us that now it's actually being used in a lot of cases to help reverse type 2 diabetes in people. And so that's why you have a lot of people out there who are diabetic or pre-diabetic who are looking into the keto diet and talking about doing that as a lifestyle. So what is the keto diet? Well, basically our body is used to using glucose as fuel. And we get glucose from carbohydrates. We eat carbs. Our body turns those carbs into glucose, and our body uses that as fuel. But in the keto diet, we limit carb intake. So you eat very little carbs in your diet. And what that does is that forces the liver and the body to turn fat into fuel for your body. So instead of using carbs and glucose to fuel your body, you're using fat as fuel. And so you'll hear people talk about eating huge amounts of fat on the keto diet, and that's one aspect of the keto diet, but I'll go into that in just a second. So eating a keto diet for a long period of time helps retrain your body into using fat as fuel over carbohydrates and glucose. So how do you get started if you're going to do the keto diet? Well, the first thing you have to understand is that you really have to keep track of your food every day. You have to monitor what you're eating. You have to label read. You have to look at how many carbs, how much fat, and how much protein is in every single thing that you eat. So the first thing you do on the keto diet is you remove most of the carbs from your diet. Now, people vary the amounts of carbs that they eat. Some people will eat up to 50 carbs per day on the keto diet, and some people will eat as little as 20 carbs per day. And if you've never label read before and label reading is new to you, it can be really hard to stick to only 20 carbs a day, because most of the foods you're probably used to eating are full of carbs. I think the average American eats somewhere between 200 and 300 carbs per day on the standard American diet, which we know is not that healthy. So really you have to start being aware of what you're eating and take note of what you're eating. And you have to track that every day if you really want to be accurate and give your body the chance to get into ketosis. And that's what it's called when your body starts burning fat. You get into ketosis. So the first thing, like I mentioned, is removing all carbs from your diet, deciding how many carbs you're going to eat per day. Are you going to eat 50 or less? You're going to eat 20 or less, or somewhere in between there. And then you have to start to count your macros every day. And there's an easy way to do that. There are some apps out there like Carb Manager that will help you log all of your food on your cell phone every day and keep track of your macros and your ratios for you. So I highly recommend that you do that if you're going to go on the keto diet. And also it's important to say that if you are taking medications, whether they be diabetes medication, heart disease medication, anything for your thyroid, it's important to work with your doctor while you are doing the keto diet, because a lot of people see drastic changes in their health. A lot of people get healthier on the keto diet if they're doing it the right way. And this often means for people that they adjust or come off of some of these medications completely. So it's important that you're letting your doctor know if you're doing a keto diet and that you're staying on top of your regular lab work and your checkups to make sure that if your medications need adjusting, that's being done. So that's something very important that you should keep in mind. So let me talk about some of the wrong things to do on a keto diet, or some of the ways that you can actually make a keto diet unhealthy. A lot of people don't look at these things or think about these things when they start a keto diet. They simply will just count their carbs and leave it at that. And I think that that's, in my opinion, a very dangerous thing to do, to simply count your carbs and say, I'm going to eat less than 20 carbs a day, and don't pay attention to anything else in your diet when it comes to nutrients. I think long term that could lead you down the wrong path. So when I talk about doing keto the right way, I think there are some things that you should do and some things that you should certainly avoid. So let me go through those things with you. So one thing you want to avoid is doing nothing but eating red meat. I mean, obviously, your meat sources, your animal protein, it's not going to have carbs. And so that's always something that people will load up on the animal meat and load up on the protein. And that's not a bad thing. You definitely need a lot of protein in your diet when you're doing keto. But you want to be careful to not just eat red meat all day, every day. There have been studies that have shown the negative effects of eating so much red meat. And in fact, the Atkins diet that was popular back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, you had a lot of people that had some real negative effects from doing nothing but eating red meat, steak, and bacon, and all those types of foods that were really high in saturated fat. So you want to be really careful to have a variety of protein in your diet. Some red meat is okay. You want to make sure it's quality. If you're doing beef, you want to do grass-fed beef. If you're doing something like a bacon, you want it to be uncured, nitrate-free, sugar-free bacon, something that's real quality. But you also want to throw some quality fish in there, some wild-caught fish. If you're doing chicken or turkey, that's also great, but you want to make sure it's quality. So doing a real variety and making sure that your protein, your meat sources are quality is something that's really important. Another mistake that people make on keto is that they end up eliminating all vegetables from your diet. You're already eliminating a lot of fruit from your diet because fruit is very high in carbs. And a lot of people tend to then eliminate a lot of vegetables from their diet too, because some vegetables can be high in carbs as well. So I think sometimes people take that to the extreme. They remove all fruit from their diet, and then they remove most, if not all, vegetables from their diet. And I think that's a big mistake for people, because we really need the vitamins, the minerals, and the nutrients that are in all of these vegetables and fruits as well. And so making sure you keep those foods in your diet, but finding a way to work them into your daily carb count is the tricky part. So keeping greens in your diet, doing things like spinach and kale and other types of greens is very important. So find a way to keep as many vegetables in your diet as you can when you're doing keto. And I think a lot of people tend to go for too much dairy when they're doing keto as well. Keto can be a very dairy-heavy diet if you allow it to be. Now, there are people out there who are dairy intolerant or have allergies and can't do dairy, and so that eliminates dairy as a source of food for people who are intolerant or have allergies. But some people tend to do way too much dairy on keto, and that can lead to inflammation issues in the body. And so I think keeping dairy at a moderate level or even eliminating it. When I do keto, which I do from time to time as a tool, I'll do it dairy-free. And so you have to find the amount of dairy that works for you if you're going to do dairy in a keto diet. And I think one of the other things that people do is they tend to only reach for those foods that have zero or very low carbs. And I think when you do that, you really eliminate a lot of healthy, nutrient-filled foods from your diet. So keeping your variety open, keeping your options open, and making sure you're still including as much variety as you can on your keto diet, I think is also important. And one other thing I want to mention is making sure that you're not overdoing it on all those keto products that we see out there. There's a lot of keto bars, keto shakes, keto powders. Doing too much of that could be a real issue for people. It can cause digestive distress. A lot of those bars can cause constipation for people if you're doing them too often. So you don't want to reach for one of those just because it has no carbs or very few carbs. You really want to read the label and look at what's in these products. Is it real nutrients that are actually going to be beneficial to your body? And I know we all get in a pinch where we need something to eat, and when you're on keto, that can be especially hard, that you need something quick to eat. So having some of these products on occasion, I think, is totally fine, but you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it on all these processed keto products that are out there. So that's another thing that you really want to keep in mind. So to break this down, what are some of the right things to do when it comes to keto? 1, keep your protein sources varied and keep them quality protein. 2, keeping vegetables in your diet, and even finding ways to keep some fruit into your diet. You know, berries are very low in carbs, so most people on the keto will keep berries in their diet. But, you know, one day if you feel like an apple, have a half an apple. Just work those carbs into your daily count and keep track of it. So cycling in some of these foods just to give you some different nutrients is still a good idea. And don't overdo it on dairy is the other thing we talked about. Look at the dairy in your diet and make sure it's not one of the main proponents in your diet. And another thing that you can do, people use fasting as a tool when it comes to keto. And so they'll go anywhere from 12 to even 16 hours without eating to help get the body into ketosis. And when you're fasting, which is a great tool to use, it's also important to make sure you're still getting your daily calorie needs. So you may only be eating for a time frame of 8 hours in one day, but you need to make sure that you're getting all your calories for that day in that time frame. So keeping track of your calories, keeping track of your macros, very important when you're doing keto. So I hope I shared a few things with you today that'll help you on your keto journey or help you think about things you're doing on your keto journey to make it safe and to make it healthy for you. All right, guys, thanks for watching. You'll have a great day.